Good morning, you guys. I want to tell you the time that I saw a demon in my ex-boyfriend. Okay, so in the meantime, I'm going to be doing my morning routine to go work out. Okay, so this was last year. I was living in Denver, and I was a flight attendant based in Denver, and I was living with my ex-boyfriend. So I didn't originally plan to live with him. The problem was I had no money and I became a flight attendant, and I won't go into that today, but being a broke flight attendant or becoming a flight attendant while not having any money, I would not recommend that anyone does that. It is a bad idea. Anyways, long story short, I started to live with him, and in the beginning things were going really good. But before, let me just say, I had kind of indications, I guess red flags, that I considered were like pink flags. Like it was okay at the time. I convinced myself it was okay. Because for one, he was providing for me, and I didn't really have any family or any friends that could really help. And after going through that 6 week of critical training, I wasn't going to quit my job. Anyways, one of the big signs that I had recognized early on was we went to get some lunch or something, and he said something like, basically he didn't like me to say something because if I said something it would make the action happen. So what it was that I was on call, we're on reserve, and so while we're on call, he would hate that I would say, oh, we're going to get a trip or something, which was realistic because we could look at the list. And he'd be like, don't say this, da da da. Anyway, I didn't like his tone. So because I didn't like his tone, he got really upset, and I started seeing some narcissistic patterns. Like he would do something to trigger me, but then get mad at me for making me upset, you know? So it was very early, and I slowly throughout the relationship, I kept seeing more and more of this, you know, like he would do things to humiliate me or put me in a bad position because he knew probably I had nowhere to go. And then the crazy part was like he would switch. He would be that person, and then he would switch to the sweetest person. Like I'd come home from work and he'd had my bath water ran and he bought me a gift, and it was just mentally abusive. He's never put his hands on me, but mentally it was literally like I was dating two people, and I really didn't know who I was waking up to on what day of the week, to be honest. So yeah, unfortunately that led me to getting pregnant. Now when I got pregnant, you know, I talked about this before. When I got pregnant, I told him, and the first thing he said was like, I'm sorry, because we had the conversation that we didn't want to have kids. And the reality is I would watch shows and I would see what he said, and I was like, oh my God, I don't ever want this man to be the father of my child. Like I don't want anyone to think of my child as like their property, you know? Like I'm not a mom, but I think that's like the biggest what like task or purpose the Lord can give you is to, you know, to raise up another person. So I was like, oh no, I definitely don't want this man to be the father of my children. So when I found out, naturally,
That's what I don't get, right? If y'all don't want to have kids with this person, if you can't see yourself being with, and I get it, we all make mistakes, but if you clearly had this in your mind, I'm not even trying to attack her or criticize her in no way, because we all make mistakes. But if you had your mind, that thought in your mind, why would you not act on it? That was a pretty valid reason not to mess with somebody. You had a good point and you just said. But anywho, I got pregnant anyways. Oh my goodness.
I was devastated, but I also kind of was happy because, you know, I had already had miscarriages, and I was like, you know what, Lord, if this is your will, so be it. Little did I know. Okay, I'm gonna wait for this to dry off. So, we started getting into arguments because he's not saying for me to have an abortion, but he's implying it. Like, why do we need to have a child right now? And da 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 da. And to me, I don't understand that concept. I'm not judging anyone, but I don't understand that concept when people say, I don't know why we need to have a child right now. Like once that life is created, it's a life. It's like if you plant a seed, it's gonna grow into an orange tree. If you plant an orange seed, it's an orange seed. It's a seed. So it's like once that
AKA fellas, you can't tell me what to do with my body. That's all that means. That's a lovely way to say it's my body. I'm gonna do what I please with it. Too late. Ha ha on you. Can't even be mad. You had all the opportunity in your hand. All you needed was protection, brother. This is crazy. Now you're in this situation. welcome to the club, brother.
That seed's already planted. I don't understand this concept of like we can wait. It's not waiting because it already happened. If you wanted it to wait, then should have got off of me. But I'm not blaming him. I'm obviously part of the problem. Anyways, so we're going back and forth at it, and he leaves one day because he would leave. I live in Houston. He lived somewhere else on the other side of the country, and so we lived together in Denver, but obviously that wasn't like our main home. It was just work. So so fast forward, he leaves for a couple days, and I have this dream, and the dream that I have it was like an ultimatum. It's like the Lord was giving, or the enemy, I would say, was giving me an ultimatum. I could see that there was my dad, my biological dad in the dream, and then I could see I had a son. I just knew it was my son. And it was kind of implying at the dream that you have to pick one. And I was kind of like, what? I wasn't as spiritually tuned as I was right now, but I was really getting into my spiritual bag, meaning like, I remember I was reading the Bible constantly, and it would make him real uncomfortable. I was watching Pastor Jerry Flowers on the TV screen in the living room. Like, I was in my bag. I knew that something wasn't right. Like, the whole time we were dating, I didn't think it was him. I do think the enemy sent him as a distraction, or like to steal what was in me, and just used him as a vessel. Not saying it was him. It was a spirit operating behind him. So I get this dream, and it's like an ultimatum of who to pick. And obviously I'm not picking. So, I get that dream, and at that time, I wasn't in communication with my mom. Crazy thing, not even like a couple hours later, and I haven't talked to my biological dad in years. A couple hours later, I get a call from my big sister, who we share the same dad. And she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that your dad is in the ICU. And I'm at a loss of words. I knew instantly, like I had to be only a couple weeks. I knew instantly I was having a son. And I was at a loss of words of what to do. But I knew that I was just like, I gotta leave. Like, I gotta get out this house. Now, my ex was supposed to be gone for 4 days for whatever reason. I call him and I tell him, and he's just being like a jerk. He's like, I'm gonna call you back. He never called me back. He's not concerned. Before he left, I was like, hey, are you coming to the first doctor appointment with me? And he said something along the lines like, I don't want to be a part of this or whatever. Say less. I knew that God was doing work in me, so I wasn't really too worried that he wouldn't be a part of it. Down the line, as I got more scared than I was, but in the beginning, I was kind of like, you're going to have to do what you have to do. Anyway, as a flight attendant, we can book flights, obviously, for free. So I had booked several flights, like a 4 a.m. flight, a 7 p.m. flight. I booked like several flights in order for me, and I packed my stuff in order for me to leave. Now, one day had gone by, and I don't know if maybe I was such in fear or like the stress had me debilitated. So I wasn't doing anything. I was just sleeping. Like all of a sudden, the pregnancy symptoms really hit me, and I was just sleeping. So as I'm sleeping, the second day, it's a day after I had that dream, I have another dream. And in the dream, the Lord shows me my ex. Half of his face is his face, and the other side is a demon's face. Like really ugly, really scary, really like two people. When I tell you, like, it really replicated who he was, because he was two people, and I would say that all the time, like, you're two people, and he's a Gemini, and I'm not really big into horoscopes, but there was no lie told there. Side note, I always attract a lot of Geminis, and I'm learning that those are the spirits operating behind them, and how they're two different people. Not, that's my personal preference. But anyway, I see it, and now I'm scared of him. I'm scared out of my mind. I'm scared to the point I hadn't talked to my mom the whole year. I call my mama. Now, when I call my mom, I
ain't gonna lie, these dreams are very vivid. Like, it's crazy. It's something about, like, women when they're pregnant, how vivid y'all dreams be, man. Like, I have children of my own. I just know, like, my current girl who I'm with now, we share a child together, and just, like, just being with people, you realize, like, those times when they're pregnant, it's like, those dreams be so vivid. I wonder what's the big deal with that.
Tell my mom my dream. My mom's like, you got to get out of there. I wasted I went back to sleep. I was so tired. I didn't want to go wait at the in the airport on standby that I went back to sleep. Now, when I went back to sleep, I heard an audible voice, very audible voice of the Lord, and I knew it was God. He said, "Natalie, get up." I woke up like panicked, scared out my mind. And within half an hour, I was in a Uber and I grabbed my dog and I packed everything that I could pack, and I was gone. I was out. I was at the airport, and I remember texting him and telling him, like, thanks for everything that you've done, but I'm leaving. And I mean, he gave me a response that triggered me. I'm not gonna lie, I said some really mean things, and I used to feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it anymore. But yeah, and God showed me that I was not tripping, that he had spirits operating behind him, and probably still does.
Now, MessyFam, if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, what do you think about that? For one, I believe that, I'm going to say this, she's very in tune with her spirituality. She catches on to signs quick and go. Honestly, the way, now that we know that this is only one side of a story, get it, they could have had a fallout, no telling what the real reasons were, why they split, but if she felt this and the way she interpreted it to us, it kind of seemed real in a sense. This is how she truly felt. And that's crazy. I believe it would have been probably bad if they would have stayed together, especially if he didn't want the child. He was trying to get her to get rid of it from day one, and she was just like real adamant on, nah, I already lost 2. This is God giving me a 3rd chance, and I'm gonna take it. And I've been in situations like that, and I had to respect the fact that that's what the mother wanted, and I still in my daughter's life today. See her every day, and she's 9 today, so it happens. That's just, like I said in the beginning, it's just, you can't control what a woman does with her body. But what do you guys think, MessyFam, about this situation? Part of me do want their relationship to be at least good enough to co-parent for that child's sake, because that is the child's father. That's just me. I feel like if the other person can play a part in their life, eventually, hopefully, God puts on his heart that he wants to take care of it and protect his child, because this is a dark, crazy world out here and they need us. But if not, let's pray that she finds a good male role model. That's the next option, fellas. If you don't step up, somebody like me with kids will step in. My girl have kids that's not my kids, and I take care of them, and I've been taking care of them with my kids for the last 5 years. So you just step it up or somebody will. To the next video, y'all. Peace.